All right, so this week we are diving deep into FAANG stocks.
Sounds good.
We're going to be looking at
Yeah.
Apple, Amazon, Netflix, with a particular emphasis on NVIDIA's upcoming earnings report.
Right.
Buckle up, everybody, because it's going to be a wild ride.
It is a very interesting time to be looking at the
Yeah.
FAANG stocks. There's a lot going on.
Let's start off with Meta.
Okay.
They saw their stock drop 4.6% this week.
Right.
And one of the big things is the EU is cracking down on those personalized ads.
Yeah, that's going to have a big impact.
40% price reduction on European ads.
That's going to hurt.
That's going to sting a little bit.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if they're going to make up for that.
Yeah.
By focusing more on the U.S. market or maybe
Yeah.
putting more resources into Threads.
Yeah. They're hitting some pretty impressive numbers with Threads' 275 million users.
It's a good start.
But it's still early days.
Very early.
And then you've got the FTC looking at them sideways over those Instagram and WhatsApp acquisitions.
Right.
Like, could they be forced to spin those off?
That would be huge.
That would be a major shakeup.
Yeah, it's like, are they spreading themselves too thin?
Right.
They've got Threads. They're still trying to do the metaverse thing. And now they're going all in on AI-powered smart glasses and image generators.
So are they masters of diversification, or are they just losing focus?
I think that's the billion-dollar question.
Yeah.
Their stock price this week is suggesting that at least some investors are a little nervous.
Interesting.
Now, in contrast, Apple had a pretty calm week stock-wise.
Okay.
But there's some interesting things happening behind the scenes.
Like what?
Well, the rumor is that they're working on a smart home camera,
Okay.
which makes sense given their push into the whole home automation space with things like the HomePod.
Right.
But what's really caught my eye is their move with the AirPods.
Oh, yeah. The hearing aids?
Yeah, turning AirPods into hearing aids.
That is brilliant.
It's a market that's ripe for disruption.
Yeah.
Hearing aids are ridiculously expensive.
Oh, my gosh. Yes.
And so,
It's like a medical device almost.
yeah, exactly. And so if Apple can come in with a more affordable option from a brand that people already trust,
Yeah.
I think that could be a huge win for them.
Absolutely. And a win for their investors.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But there's always a but.
There's a big, but
Yeah.
that potential 60% tariff on Chinese goods,
Right.
that could really impact them.
Yeah. They rely so heavily on Chinese manufacturing.
They do.
If those tariffs go through.
It's going to hurt their margins.
Yeah, it's a big question mark hanging over their heads.
Definitely something to watch.
All right, let's move on to Amazon.
Okay.
Their stock dipped a little bit this week, but they are not slowing down.
No, they are not.
Smart glasses for delivery
I
drones.
mean, come on.
Talk about optimizing that last mile.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I think it shows their commitment to efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about speed and keeping those delivery times down.
It's like they're not even competing with other companies anymore. They're competing with themselves.
I think that's a good way to put it.
Like they're playing 4D chess while everyone else is trying to figure out checkers.
Exactly.
And then they go and shake up the healthcare industry
Oh, yeah.
with those online consultations.
Like they weren't already everywhere.
Undercutting prices from companies like Hims and Hers.
It's a bold move.
Amazon is officially everywhere.
They are not afraid to enter established markets and just completely disrupt them.
It's fascinating to watch.
And then you've got that $475 million AWS deal with IBM for AI workloads.
Right.
So they're also showing that they're serious about dominating the cloud computing space, too.
I mean, they're just firing on all cylinders.
It seems like it.
All right, let's talk about Netflix.
Okay.
Their stock is actually up this week,
Yeah, 3%.
thanks in part to their ad-supported plan.
It seems like they've figured out how to make ads work for streaming.
Yeah, nearly 70 million monthly active users on that ad-supported plan.
It'll be interesting to see how that impacts user engagement and churn in the long run.
Yeah, that's the big question.
Will those ad-supported users be as loyal as the ad-free subscribers?
And what about this whole Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight that they're streaming?
Right, are they trying to become the next pay-per-view king?
It's a gamble,
It's big gamble.
but they've got to do something to stay ahead in this streaming wars.
For sure.
All right, the moment everyone's been waiting for NVIDIA,
The big one.
the tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife.
Everyone's on the edge of their seats waiting to see if they meet those analyst predictions.
Yeah, a $200 price target, we're talking a potential $4 trillion valuation.
It's all going to come down to their earnings report.
I think it's safe to say the entire tech sector will be watching very closely.
I agree.
Okay, let's switch gears to Google.
All right.
Their stock took a dip, but they're making some big moves, particularly in AI.
Yeah, they're going head-to-head with Microsoft and OpenAI with that new Gemini AI app.
And their Waymo driverless taxi service is expanding. It seems like they're positioning themselves to become the kings of AI and autonomous transportation.
That's the goal. But they've got some challenges ahead of them.
Like what?
Well, the EU is really cracking down on them.
Yeah.
They've already had to pull all political ads from Europe.
Yeah.
And if similar regulations hit the U.S. market, that could really hurt their ad revenue.
Right.
Plus, there's always that question of consumer trust with a company like Google that handles so much personal data.
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
For sure.
All right. Last but not least, Tesla.
Okay.
Despite a little dip recently, their stock is still up 44% for the month.
That's impressive.
A partnership with the new administration could be huge for them.
Yeah, if they can fast-track those robo-taxi approvals.
That would be a game changer.
Absolutely. And don't underestimate their charging infrastructure.
Right.
If they remove those EV mandates and tax credits, that gives Tesla a major advantage over traditional automakers.
Who are still trying to catch up in the EV market.
Though we're way behind.
We're playing catch up.
Tesla's basically built a walled garden, and everybody else is scrambling to get in.
It's a brilliant strategy.
It is.
So we've talked about each company's individual moves, but what I'm curious about is the bigger picture.
Yeah.
What are the big trends that are shaping the landscape for FA gang stocks as a whole?
Well, one thing is clear AI is the name of the game.
Yeah.
Every single company we've talked about today is investing heavily in AI.
Right.
Whether it's developing their own AI solutions or providing the infrastructure to power it.
It's the future.
The race is on and the stakes are incredibly high.
I think that's a great place to end part one of our deep dive on FA-ing stocks.
Yeah, we'll be back with part two, where we'll delve even deeper into these trends and what they mean for investors.
So stay tuned.
Don't go anywhere. And it's not just about who can develop the best AI. It's about who can integrate it best into their current products and services.
Right, like Amazon with their delivery routes and AI, or Meta with their advertising and how they use AI.
Exactly. And the companies that can really make that work, those are the ones that are going to come out on top.
So it's not just about the tech. It's about how you use it.
Strategy is key.
Yeah, and don't forget about all those regulations, Tate.
Oh, yeah.
The EU is all over these companies, and the U.S. could very well be next.
It's true, and it's hard to tell how that's all going to play out.
It's a wild card, for sure. I mean, look at what happened with Meta and the personalized ads in Europe.
Yeah, that was a big wake-up call for a lot of these companies.
You can't just assume that what works in one market is going to work everywhere.
Nope. Different countries, different rules.
And then, on top of all that, you got the whole U.S.-China thing going on.
Oh, yeah. The geopolitical stuff always adds another layer of complexity.
It's like these tech companies are stuck in the middle of a global tug-of-war.
And that can make it really hard to predict what's going to happen next.
So for people who are thinking about investing in these companies, it's not as simple as just picking the one with the coolest technology.
Right. You got to look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, you got to factor in all the risks, the regulations, the competition, and everything else that's happening in the world.
Exactly. It's like playing chess. You got to be thinking several moves ahead.
Okay, so let's get back to the individual stocks.
Right.
What are some things that investors should be thinking about when they're looking at these FAN companies?
Well, for me, growth potential is huge.
Okay.
You want to see where these companies are headed?
That's their long-term vision.
Exactly. Look for companies that are investing in the future, whether it's AI, autonomous vehicles, the metaverse, you name it.
And look for companies that are willing to adapt to change.
Like Netflix with their ad-supported plan.
Yeah, they weren't afraid to shake things up.
And another important thing is diversification.
Right. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Spread your investments across multiple companies. That way you're not putting all your hopes on one horse.
That's some solid advice right there.
You try.
Okay, so before we get to the NVIDIA earnings report, I wanted to ask you about technical analysis. What are the charts telling us about these FAANG stocks?
Well, the S&P 500 has pulled back to a pretty logical support level.
Okay.
Which suggests that the market is just taking a little breather.
So a correction after a period of growth.
That's how it usually goes.
Makes sense.
Now, looking at Meta, they've broken through some key support levels.
Oh.
But they're getting close to a potential buy zone.
Interesting. So for investors who still believe in Meta's long-term potential.
This could be a chance to buy low.
But of course, technical analysis is just one tool.
Right. It's not a magic crystal ball.
It's just one piece of the puzzle.
Exactly.
So what about the other companies?
Well, Apple is consolidating within a range.
Okay.
Amazon bounced off a support level.
Right.
And Netflix is continuing to make higher highs.
So it's kind of a mixed bag for those three.
Yeah, but let's be honest, all eyes are on NVIDIA right now.
The main event.
Their stock is currently sitting at the lower end of its channel.
Okay.
Which means they're primed for a potential breakout after they release their earnings report.
So if their earnings are good,
we could see a big jump in their stock price.
It's going to be exciting to watch.
For sure. But as always, remember, nothing is guaranteed in the stock market.
True that.
We'll have to wait and see what happens.
Well, the earnings report is just around the corner, so we won't have to wait long.
And whatever happens, it's likely to have a ripple effect across the entire tech sector.
Yeah, this is going to be big.
Buckle up. It's going to be an interesting ride.
All right, welcome back, everybody. The moment of truth is finally here.
The numbers are in for NVIDIA. They did not disappoint.
I knew it.
They blew past all the expectations.
Record revenue, record earnings.
Yeah, this is huge.
It's like we were saying before about that potential $4 trillion valuation.
It's not so crazy now, is it?
Not so crazy anymore.
Yeah.
The stock is going through the roof in after-hours trading.
Analysts are scrambling to update their price targets.
I told you this was a market mover.
This is what it's all about.
This is why we love FAing stocks.
This is why we do this show.
So for those of us who don't have an MBA in finance, what does all this mean?
It means that AI is the real deal.
Okay.
NVIDIA is at the forefront of this AI revolution.
Because of those GPUs.
Exactly. They make the chips that power all this AI technology.
And everybody wants a piece of the action.
Everybody from healthcare to finance to transportation, they all need AI.
So NVIDIA is sitting pretty right now.
They're in the driver's seat.
So what does this mean for regular investors like me?
Well, it's a huge vote of confidence in NVIDIA.
Okay.
And in the AI sector as a whole.
Right.
If you're looking for growth potential, you got to take a serious look at what's happening here.
I'm starting to think I should have bought more NVIDIA stock when we started this episode.
Maybe, but remember, there's always risk in the stock market.
That's true.
But NVIDIA is a company that knows what it's doing.
They've got a clear strategy, and they're executing it flawlessly.
And they're riding this massive wave of demand for AI.
It's a perfect storm for them.
You could say that.
This feels like a turning point, not just for NVIDIA, but for the whole tech industry.
I think you're right.
This earnings report is sending a message.
AI is here to stay.
It's not just a fad.
It's the future.
And NVIDIA's leading the charge.
All those other companies we talked about, Meta, Apple, Amazon, Google, even Tesla.
Yeah.
They all need to figure out how they fit into this AI world.
Or they'll get left behind.
It's a adapt or die in the tech world.
That's the truth.
So to sum it all up,
yeah,
the tech landscape is changing faster than ever before.
Right.
And companies that can keep up with the changes, those are the ones that are going to succeed.
So it's not just about the technology itself.
It's about having a solid business model.
Right.
Understanding the competition.
And keeping up with the regulations.
And navigating all the geopolitical risks.
That's a lot to keep track of.
It is, but it's also what makes this so exciting.
It's a wild ride, but it's a ride worth taking.
That's a great way to put it.
Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive on F.A. Jane stocks.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure as always.
Likewise.
And to all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us.
Keep learning, keep investing.
And we'll see you next time.